and sometimes when it's late at night, she'll say, Daddy, will you tell me a story? And sometimes I get to tell stories, and that's really the best part. Sometimes she'll say to me, Daddy, tell me a story about the time when you had a dog. Daddy, tell me about a time when you were in elementary school. Daddy, tell me about the time when you punched Keanu Reeves. Best believe I punched Keanu Reeves. Anyway, one time she turned to me and she said, hey, Daddy, could you tell me a story about the worst thing you've ever done? And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, Daddy, how about the 5th worst thing you've ever done? Still no. But I will tell you a story about the 87th worst thing that I have ever done. So I'm going to share that story with you right now. Now, this is going somewhere, I promise. So this is a story about the 87th worst thing I've ever done. Now, a warning, this story is humiliating to me. First of all, because it reveals me to be a terrible, terrible human being. I'd like to put that on as a preface. I was in 7th grade, first of all, and I had not yet met Jesus, okay? So that's the first thing. Second of all, the story is humiliating because my mom emailed them this picture of when this story happened. That's, yes. Dear God, those socks. So I was in Boy Scouts. This happened when I was in 7th grade. I was very excited. My parents signed me up for Boy Scouts. I loved it. I was in Boy Scouts with my 2 best friends, Kenny and Andy, and we were in the Panther Patrol, and it was awesome, and it was about the time to be summer camp. My dad had bought me a tent, and the tent was big enough for all 3 of us. All 3 of us were going to be in this tent. It was going to be summer camp. I was so excited because it was Kenny and Andy and me. It was my best friends. We were going to go, and it was going to be amazing, and it was going to be awesome. And we're in the Panther Patrol, which was awesome. And the only thing better would have been the Black Panther Patrol, Wakanda Forever. But we're there, and we're excited, and it's summer camp. And it's the last meeting before summer camp is about to happen, and it's planning, and we're so excited. And on that meeting, right before summer camp, all of a sudden, our scoutmaster, whose name was Joe Souter, he was basically like Papa Smurf. He was giant Papa Smurf, super kind, led us super well. He comes in and he says, hey, and we look over, and there's this new guy. There's this kid, and he's a new kid, and there's his dad right there. And I was like, wow, there's a new person, whatever. I didn't care because I was so excited about summer camp. And the scoutmaster says, all right, hey, everybody, this is Rayeed. He just moved here from Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care, new kid. I'm excited about summer camp with Kenny and Andy. And he's like, and he's going to be going to summer camp with us. And I'm like, whatever, who cares? I'm excited about summer camp with Kenny and Andy. And he's like, and he's going to be in the Panther Patrol. And I'm like, say what now? And I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but it's full. We're full. We're the Panther Patrol. We're full. And I don't even know where Saudi Arabia is. And so he comes over, and I'm really ashamed to admit this. Again, terrible person and in 7th grade. The first thing I said to him when he came over was not, hey, welcome, or hey, welcome to the Panther Patrol, or I'm glad you're here. It was, you know you're not going to be in our tent, right? Again, I 7th grade, terrible human before Jesus. Okay, so turning on me so quickly. So I'm there, and we go to summer camp, and his dad buys him his own tent, and can I stay near you guys? And we're like, no, and he's setting up, and we're there, and all of a sudden, all the adults start talking and giving us instructions. And the number one instruction they gave us was, boys, remember, no food. Don't keep food in your tents. Don't leave food out on the picnic tables. Make sure to put the food back in the coolers. Make sure you put the coolers in the car because we don't want, now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, bears, right? Bears. No. I'm from Ohio. There are no bears in Ohio. We have these little creatures which are to be avoided at all costs. So skunks. And skunks are attracted by food. And so the adults kept saying things like, when you come out of the latrine at night, shine your flashlight. You don't want to scare or startle a skunk. Make sure you don't leave food out. And Rayeed is from Saudi Arabia. Now, here's what I didn't know. He wasn't actually from Saudi Arabia. Rayeed and his family were from Iran, and they had actually they had fled Iran as political refugees to Saudi Arabia, from Saudi Arabia to the United States. And his dad was new in the country. His whole family had been uprooted, and they moved. And so this was his first month in the United States, and they had fled this political instability. I mean, this is a really insane story for a 7th grade boy. But I wasn't aware of that. He was from Saudi Arabia. He didn't know what a skunk was. And so he's just like, all he knows is the adults are like, whatever you do, don't go near the skunk. And he's like, what's a skunk? What's a skunk? And so he comes up to me, and we're walking to the campfire, and he's like, what's a skunk? And why are the adults so worried about them? And I'm like, you don't know what a skunk is? You don't know what a skunk is. Again, don't turn on me. 7th grade, I was a terrible human. It was before Jesus. So I turn to him and I say, a skunk, Rayeed? A skunk is the most dangerous predatory mammal in all of North America. They call it the piranha of the prairie. They hunt in packs. One time, we watched from a distance as a herd, a Nipsey Russell of skunk descended upon a cow. And in mere seconds, minutes, it was nothing but glimmering, sheeming bone. That's what they do. They hunt in the trees. And they pounce, and you never hear them. No, you just wake up dead. And the only thing your parents will find will be a bloody shoe as they drag you into the forest, into their evil lair. He's like, really? I'm like, yes, really. Really, Rayeed? They're always watching. So, again, terrible human, 7th grade, before Jesus. So we're walking, and Rayeed is just like, oh man, he's really scared. And so in the middle of this, I figure, and that night we go to the campfire, and he's sitting like really close to the campfire, like he's sweating. He's like, doesn't want to get anywhere near the skunks. And I thought to myself, it'd be really funny, would be hilarious if I took some cookies and crumbled them outside of his tent. And that would be hilarious. So I do it. I put those cookie crumbles outside of his tent. We go to sleep, and I'm thinking, this is going to be hilarious. And so anyway, we go to sleep. I fall asleep. We're there in the tent. He's in his own tent over there. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, he hears a sound. And he wakes up. And it's shh, 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 shh. And it's right outside of his tent. Rayeed stops breathing. Shh, 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 shh. He hears another sound. There's more of them. He remembers. They hunt in packs. He slowly reaches for his flashlight. He turns it on. He sees the silhouette of 3 creatures, and he screams. He screams like a girl at a Taylor Swift concert. He wakes up the entire campsite. The scoutmaster Josiah jumps up, runs to his tent, and there they find Rayeed. He's got a sleeping bag over him. He's huddled. He's crying out. He's sobbing uncontrollably, and he's repeating again and again, please don't let them eat me. Please don't let them eat me. Please don't let them eat me. And the scoutmaster's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the skunks. Please don't let them eat me. And the scoutmaster says, what are you talking about? Who told you that skunks would eat you? And so the scoutmaster gets everybody up. He sees that there's cookies around the tent. He gets everybody up, has us line up, and he yells at us and he says, I have never in my entire life, in my entire career as a scoutmaster, been so disappointed in a group of young men. Now, who did this? And all of my friends were like, he's like, do you do this? And I was like, yeah. And then he points to the picnic table and he goes, sit there. And he sends everyone else to bed while they clean up the cookies. And that's when I realized and learned a very important lesson about life in this moment. Now, here's what I expected. I expected to be yelled at and then sent home. Okay, first of all, did I deserve to be sent home? Yeah, I did. Okay, what I did, think about the reality of what I did. It's not just mean, it's straight up cruel, and it's horrific, right? But it's more than that. Like, I actually deserve punishment. And so this is what I expected, to be yelled at and sent home. Because this is the way that when somebody does something wrong, this is the way that we respond, right? This is the way that humans respond. In fact, this is the way that almost every human responds. When somebody does something wrong or bad, or does the wrong thing, believes the wrong thing, this is what we do. We condemn, and then we withdraw. We condemn and say what you did was wrong, and then we take a step back, just like my friends took a step back. You condemn, and then you withdraw. That's what I expected. By the way, did I deserve condemnation for my action against Rayeed? Yes. unequivocally, right? Did I deserve to be sent home? Yeah, I actually did. So it's not an issue of desert. It's an issue, but see, here's what Joe Sauter did. He sat me down on that picnic table. Everyone goes back to bed, and then he sits next to me. And for the next hour, he talks to me, and he asks me questions. How would you feel if you had just moved to a new nation? What would be going through your mind? How would you feel if you went to a group where there was a bunch of young boys about your age, and your dad said, this is where you can make some friends? How would you feel? And how would you feel if those boys, instead of welcoming you, were standoffish? And they didn't welcome you in. Now, how would you feel if instead of that, they actually teased you? Now, how would you feel instead of that, they actually tried to play a prank on you to make you scared? How would you feel? So what he's doing is he's going through this, and then he says, I'm like, man, I understand now what I did. So he's sitting with me for that hour, and then I said, are you going to send me home? And he's like, no, I'm not. You're going to be Rayeed's tent mate. And you're going to apologize to Rayeed. You're going to apologize to the camp. You're going to apologize to the members of the Panther Patrol because what you did wasn't cool and it violated our core values. And then you're going to be his tent mate. When he goes canoeing, you're going to go canoeing. In archery, you're going to be his partner. Every merit badge class, you're going to be sitting right next to him. He doesn't know how to play Uno. You're going to teach him Uno. When he says draw 4, you draw 4. Are we clear? And that was my reality for the next week.